Chase at the 40. Look at that move. Look at Chase go. Oh, my goodness. What a gear.
He comes down to this in his car end zone. Intercepted.
McPherson. And Cincinnati is heading to the Super Bowl.
Cross here. Nixon's going to throw. Open man. Caught. Higgins. Touchdown.
Drives. Touchdown. Joe Burrow has his first rushing touchdown of the season.
Hooday, Bengal fans. He is Maan. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse, the heartbeat of our Cincinnati Bengals. Maan, how's your week been?
Good. Very busy. A little sad there was no NFL football. I got to watch a little bit of the XFL, which I actually enjoyed. It's fun to watch.
How is that? I have not got a chance to watch it, but I do know we got some ex-Bengals playing quite a bit, right? AJ McCarron, Drew Plight's playing too, right? Drew Plight is playing.
Yeah, Jacques Pratt, right? McCarron, Patrick's playing, but he's playing for Hines Ward, the San Antonio team. Yeah, they got beat today. No, there's a lot of name recognition, a lot of ex-players. You recognize the names, a little more excitement there, and some of the quirky rules they have. It's sort of refreshing. It was fun to watch AJ McCarron today. Really exciting game. He ended up beating Hines Ward and the San Antonio team. And they all have Pittsburgh Steeler colors, the Hines' team, and they're waving yellow flags in the stands. It was pretty comical. But it was fun to see that. That was an exciting game. But, it's not the NFL, but it's football. And I'll watch it. I liked it.
Yeah, well, I think I'll catch it next week. I didn't get a chance to. As you know, I've been kind of crazy week for me. But, yeah, I definitely want to watch it. I know one thing. I will not be rooting for Hines Ward's team. I don't think he beat every week. I just cannot root for him. But no, that's cool. And I think some other big name guys, right? Martavis Bryant. I think I saw is Josh Gordon. Josh Gordon's playing in it too, right?
Yeah, he's actually playing right now. I have my TV on over here.
Oh, he is. He's playing right now.
I think he already scored a touchdown also.
Oh, I'm sure. He should tear that league up.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of NFL players, you'll recognize a lot of the names. It's fun to watch. I'm really enjoying it. I didn't think I would. Yeah, I can't wait. There's a team in Orlando. I think tickets are $10. Me and the wife are going to go next week. And
nice.
Why not?
What are they? Are they the Guardians? Is that the team?
They're the Guardians. They looked pretty bad last night though. They got smoked. But
who's the quarterback? Who's the quarterback for them?
Paxton Lynch is their quarterback, I believe.
Oh, the Denver Bronco kid.
Yeah, he looked. I think that was. I think he is the quarterback for them. He looked a little rough yesterday. Yes,
I think he played for Memphis, didn't he? Play for Memphis in college.
He did play at Memphis. He sure did. He played against your team, UCF, a lot, and he played for Denver. And I think he was a first-round pick for them. A lot of first-round picks in this league.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. So it is. It's a good product. I like it. The Rock is behind it, and a couple other people. So they're doing a good job. Having ESPN marketing it and really pushing it. It's on ABC also. I'm really curious to see today. The Daytona 500 was on Fox, and then they had the game started at the same time as the Daytona 500. I'm curious to see what the viewership's going to be there. I'm sure the Daytona 500 is going to blow it out of the water, but America loves football. Curious to see how that's going to be.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Definitely. I mean, I'm not a big NASCAR guy, so I think I'd probably been watching the XFL if I had to choose. But
I was going back and forth. I'm not a NASCAR guy either, but the first race of the year, I always watch a Daytona 500. That's about it.
Well, as you know, this is my first week as a resident of Kentucky. So loving it up here, getting adjusted, getting simulated to the way things are up here and the weather. Actually, the weather's been really nice. I mean, I've been in short sleeve shirt the last 2 days. So, but no, I'm excited. It's different, right? Everywhere I go, it's Bengals everywhere. It's just fantastic. But no, I'm spent my first week at my new school as head coach, and I'm really excited and can't wait to get going. So, but been a crazy week for sure. Been a crazy week.
Jake, I want to tell you, I went shopping today with my wife at the grocery store. She's wearing a Bengals sweatshirt, and we're in Florida. Somebody goes, "Who Day?" And I'm like, "Hey man, wow, somebody just said, hey, Who Day to us."
Yeah.
You don't have that problem anymore. I mean, like
Yeah.
you just said, everybody's Bengal up there.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's really neat. I
Yeah.
like that.
And
I
I'm
couldn't
and
imagine that.
obviously, I'm excited about Reds baseball getting started. I know it's going to probably be a rough year, but I am excited about opening day and all that. So, but no, I'm excited to be up here and really looking forward, like I said, to getting started with my new team that I'm very excited about. But Mon, let's talk Bengals again. Right now, this is kind of the in between period, right? Where we're almost at free agency, not quite there yet. We're starting to, the coaching carousel is starting to close itself down, which we're going to talk about in just a second. And then we have the draft coming up in about 8 to 10 weeks, I think, something like that, the end of April. But free agency, like we talked about last week on the show, free agency starting up very soon. And I'm excited to see how this thing is all going to pan out. We're going to talk about the roster here in a little bit. I got a feeling, Mon, that we're going to get some Bengal news here coming up in the next week or two about our guy Joe Burrow. I've read a couple places that that it's the negotiations are going well, and I really think something is going to get done here in the next week or two before free agency starts.
I agree with you. I think it has to be. Free agency is the 11th. I think that's when the tampering period starts. They
Yeah.
have got to have him under contract by then, because when it comes to Von Bell, I don't know if they're going to re-engage with Jesse Bates. I doubt it. But the other free agents that we have,
Yep.
everything is on hold until Joe Burrow's structure and cap number is locked in. As
Yeah.
soon as that happens, it's going to free up everything else. And that's the key. That is the big key.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk about the coaching carousel because as Bengal fans, we have had a lot of guys out there. We obviously Lou Anarumo, Brian Callahan, Dan Pitcher, my guy Troy Walters. We've had a lot of coaches that have been getting interviews and promotional interviews at that. But after the smoke has settled, and we talked about this last week, Mom, if this team could somehow selfishly for all of us bring back this entire coaching staff, look out. And it has happened, Mom. It has happened, knock on wood, unless anything else happens here in the next week or two. We got Lou back. We got Callahan back. We got Pitcher back. We got my guy Troy Walters back. Mon, this coaching staff, and I think I've read where this will be something like the fifth straight year that this staff has been together, which no other staff in the NFL has that continuity. Man, oh man, Mon, I tell you what, it's an exciting. This is exciting. I think this offseason building up to me is even more exciting than the last offseason before last year. I think this offseason, it just feels, I don't know, it feels different, man. I'm really excited to see how the free agency thing goes and to see how the draft goes because there's a really good chance, Mon, that we literally every draft pick could be best position available, which is absolutely insane when you think about how good this roster already is.
Yeah, I'm beyond excited about Lou Anarumo coming back the day after the Super
Oh
Bowl.
man.
The defensive coordinator for the Eagles interviewed with the state in Arizona and interviewed with the Cardinals. About 4 o'clock that afternoon, I'm literally blowing up my Twitter. I can't put my phone down. I need to get information. What's going on here? And then it slowly broke that the defensive coordinator for the Eagles was going to get that job. I feel bad for Coach Anarumo. Of course, you want to reach the highest pinnacle and become one of the 32 NFL coaches. I think that's going to come for him. But being a Bengal fan, I'm beyond. I was so happy that he's coming back for another year. This coaching staff is elite. Zach Taylor, potentially, this could happen. Callahan, Anarumo, Troy Walters has been interviewed multiple times for offensive coordinator. Dan Pitcher's highly thought of. They have another defensive coach, Livingston, that's young, that's very highly thought of. They can have 3 or 4 head coaches on this staff right now. We could look back in 10 and 15 years and say, wow, what a coaching staff the Cincinnati Bengals had.
Yeah.
It's not with the talent that he's assembled on that staff. Look what's happened the last 2 years. Super Bowl, AFC Championship game. This team has just flipped the script completely, and we are going to continue trending up. And hats off for Zach Taylor for getting these guys on his staff.
I'm not so sure it's true or not, but I don't know if you read the same thing that I read, but I read that Dan Pitcher actually turned an offensive coordinator job down. I believe it was with the Buccaneers. I don't know if that's true, but it would make sense to me. It would make sense. I think 2 reasons. One is obviously, you got a chance to coach the best quarterback in the NFL. That helps. But I think really Dan Pitcher is probably the next guy in line when Callahan leaves. And I think that's probably already been discussed. So I don't know if it's true that Pitcher turned down the Tampa OC job, but if he did, I get it. I understand, especially if Zach Taylor has this plan already in place.
That's how I interpreted it. I interpret that. It was in The Athletic. I think Paul Dehner mentioned it in one of his podcasts. He has a connection with Pitcher. He's been on their show quite a bit. Pitcher did. He basically said, they're working on something special in Cincinnati. He doesn't want to leave that because they haven't finished the job yet. He doesn't want to leave until that's done. Again, like we said earlier, that's a bunch of winners there. Those guys are dialed in, and they have one goal and one goal only, and that's to bring home a Lombardi trophy to the city of Cincinnati. And I think that's going to happen. Jake, we talked about it a few minutes ago. We talked about this a few minutes ago before we started recording about how all these experts all of a sudden are jumping on. They're having the early predictions for next year on ESPN.
Now.
I know.
Everybody's on the bandwagon.
There's 10 ESPN NFL writers. They gave their early predictions for 2023. Well, 5 of them picked the Bengals to go to the Super Bowl out of the 10, and 3 of them picked the Bengals to win the Super Bowl. So that's it's being a Bengal fan. We're not used to that, and I find it refreshing. No longer the underdog. Yeah.
No, we can't carry that. We can't carry that with us anymore. I think, and I do. I think all of this that we're talking about is all the Joe Burrow effect. I mean, a guy like Dan Pitcher doesn't leave because he knows that the Bengals right now have the best quarterback in the NFL. He knows that he gets an opportunity, and they're tight anyways. I mean, we've heard how close Burrow and Pitcher are, but this team, I think, with this coaching staff coming back, they've got to be the favorites in the AFC. They've got to be. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but because I like the Bengals playing with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, but I think now they become the hunted. To be honest, I think they become the hunted now, and going into this offseason, I'm going to be very surprised to see, again, once Joe Burrow gets signed, how that Joe Burrow affects that Joe Burrow signing, how that affects the entire free agency period for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting the next couple weeks. Let's face it, players out there, money talks. Money is always going to be the number one factor when it comes to signing a free agent contract. But number 2 is going to a winner, going to a team that's a Super Bowl contender. Well, the Bengals have that. So if there's a player out there, and he's bidding with another team, that other team might offer $1 million more. He's going to go, hey, you know what? Only $1 million. I think I'll go to a winner. Now, if it's more than $1 million, I could see him, maybe going to the other team. But the Bengals have that 2 years in a row AFC Championship. They got a championship game. They got a lot of money available, even with the potential Burrow contract. They have some cap flexibility there. So I still see them signing 3 or 4 second, third tier free agents coming up in a few weeks. And I think that's going to help this team tremendously.
I do too. Well, Maan, let's get to our players of the year. So listeners, we'll just tell you, we're going to do the offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, the offensive rookie of the year, the defensive rookie of the year, and the coach of the year for our Cincinnati Bengals. Maan, are you ready to do this?
I am.
Okay, Mom. We're going to start with the offensive rookie of the year. Maan, you go first. Offensive rookie of the year. Who you got?
Offensive rookie of the year is going to be an easy one. It's going to be Cordell Volson for me.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of Twitter chatter lately about finding a replacement. A lot of people I respect on Twitter. I've followed them for years. They have a very big following. Some of them are really down on Volson. I do get it. He did struggle tremendously early on. He improved. If I'm not mistaken, I think over the last 7 games, he had no holding penalties. And I think maybe one false start. His last holding penalty of the season came in the AFC Championship game, unfortunately. But that showed improvement. Does he still have a ways to go? Absolutely, he does. But he started every single game, over 1,300 snaps. He was a big upgrade to what we had the year before. Cordell Volson is only going to get better. And I want to say one other thing. A lot of these people that I really respect on podcasts, that they talk about his age. Has he maxed out? He played at a Division II college. This is his first time in the NFL. He got better every week. Let's not overthink these things. Let's give the guy another year. He's trending up. He's going to be a solid player for us for years to come. And he's my pick, and I'm glad the Bengals picked him.
Well, I mean, like you said, I love the way Cordell Volson played. I'll be honest with you. I don't think we get as far as we do without Cordell Volson, especially with the injuries that hit us right at the end of the year in the offensive line. To me, Cordell Volson, he's obviously the offensive rookie of the year. I mean, there's really not a lot to choose from, to be honest with you. But I think either way, I think Cordell Volson was a great pick. I think he is going to turn out to be maybe not an all-pro guy, but a guy that we are going to be able to count on for the next 10 years. And again, like I said, without Cordell Volson, especially when the injury started to hit us, Cordell Volson had to help carry that offensive line, the inside of that offensive line with Karras. I thought he played well, and you didn't hear you're right. You didn't hear, there wasn't a lot of penalties against him. He got beat, and he's going to get beat. He's a rookie, and he played Division II football, which is still great football, but you got to give the guy some time to assimilate to the NFL. And I thought for him having to come in and be a part of this reconstructed offensive line, man, that's a lot of pressure. And I thought he played really well. So again, I'm with you. Offensive rookie of the year, we both say Cordell Volson. Defensive rookie of the year, I'm going to go first.
Right ahead.
Mine's Cam Taylor-Britt. I know. Wow. Right. I would like to just say that I think not only do I think Cam Taylor-Britt is the defensive rookie of the year, obviously I think he's the best pick that we had last year. I think Cam Taylor-Britt's going to end up being a starter in this league for the next 10 or 15 years. I love his physicality. I thought once Cheeto went down, I mean, you're talking about one of the top 3 corners in the NFL. And for CTB to have to go right into that role in big time football, Maan. I mean, we're not talking about, going into that role and playing for a bad football team. We're talking about playing, for the AFC North champs and a team that went to the AFC Championship. Cam Taylor-Britt held his own. He had some rough games, but playing corner, besides quarterback, corner is the toughest position to play in the NFL. And for him to step in and play the way he did, again, I love his physicality. He had that huge interception at the end of the Buffalo game. To me, he's an easy pick. And I say that because I think he is going to open up the draft for the Cincinnati Bengals because they know he's coming back. Obviously, Cheeto's coming back. And if Cam Taylor-Britt is not the starter next year, man, if he's our number 3 corner, I'll take that because he very well could start in the NFL for a long time.
I agree with you. He's my selection also. Jake, I want to go back in time. Halloween night is probably the lowest point for me as a Bengal fan this past year. Cheeto was injured. You go back and watch our show. I thought it was going to be the death knell for our team. I thought it was going to be a catastrophic injury that we were not going to be able to get past. I was wrong. Cam Taylor-Britt came in. He was a rookie. He struggled, but you saw glimpses of him making plays. The one thing I love about him, his physicality. Jake, how many times did we see him come up and run support, and when he would hit somebody, that person would go backwards. He would truck him. He's a very physical corner, and he got better and better, just like Cordell Volson. He improved dramatically. He's going to be one of our starters next year. It's going to be Cheeto, and Cheeto comes back healthy, hopefully. And then Cam Taylor-Britt. And then, of course, we got Mike Hilton in the slot. Our starters in the defensive backfield at cornerback are really solid. A little worried about the depth there. Hopefully we can find another Cam Taylor-Britt in this draft, maybe in the 2nd or 3rd round. But his future is bright. What a player. And I'm just so excited that he's on the team. And, just hats off to Duke and, of course, the Nebraska connection, which is Coach Taylor. He's dialed in Nebraska, so he knows all the insight on all those guys. And I'm glad we picked him because he's a hell of a player.
And I love his personality. I love the effort. I love everything about him. I mean, he is the optimal corner. That corner's got to be a dog. Your corners have got to be dogs. They gotta be talking. They gotta be talking trash. They gotta be. They got to be the voice sometimes because it is a tough position, and you have to have a very you have to have the ability to forget things very quickly, right? You have to have a short-term memory when it comes to playing corner. And I think he's a great pick, and I know there's not because Dax obviously didn't get a lot of playing time. He had the injury and all that. So I know there's not a lot to pick from, but I tell you what, if this draft came around and Cordell Volson and CTB were in it, I'd say pick them again because I think they are 2 outstanding draft picks once again. All right, Offensive Player of the Year, Maan, who you got?
Offensive Player of the Year. I am not picking Joe Burrow, even though he is the Offensive Player of the Year. It's too easy. I'm not picking him. So everybody, if you tune in after I say this, what's wrong with Maan? Does he have a head injury? I'm not picking Joe Burrow. Too easy. I'm going to pick T. Higgins. T. Higgins is my choice for Offensive Player of the Year. I did read earlier, Hobson came out with his offensive awards, and he had Chase and Higgins tied. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to copy him. I'm going to pick Higgins. Higgins is my choice. Listen, he did miss a couple games this year. And 2 of those games, he missed the first Steeler game he did play. Jake, we were at that game. Remember, he had a cheap shot by the defensive back for the Steelers, knocked him out. He only played, I think, the first quarter and a half. We ended up losing that game. He had 2 catches. I'm convinced if T. Higgins was healthy that game, it wouldn't have been close. The Bengals would have won that game, and you know what that would have meant down the road. The other game he missed was the Ravens game that we lost 17-19. He did not play in that game. I'll say it. If he played that game, we would have won that comfortably. T. Higgins is a difference maker. He had 4 100-yard receiving games. The one game that really stood out to me There were so many great moments from last year on this Bengal team, dominating performances. That New England game in the first half, the Bengals offense was clicking. That is the most dominant I've seen them. It was unbelievable. Playing against the New England Patriots, Bill Belichick, defensive mastermind in New England, that defense was good. They're a top 8 defense in the NFL. T. Higgins went off that game. T. Higgins had 8 catches for 128 yards, most of those in the first half. He looked like a man playing against boys. He's just a machine. And I just love the way he plays. Obviously, Jamar Chase, we're fortunate to have 2 number 1 receivers. Jamar Chase had a great year. He missed 4 games. We won 3 of those, and which surprised me, but we were 3-1 in the games that he was out. But Jamar Chase had 4 100-yard receiving games, just like T. Higgins. But I'm going to pick T. Higgins because I just feel like he has that wow factor. And the 2 games that we lost that he didn't get to play, he didn't get to play the full game against Pittsburgh. He didn't get to play the first game against the Ravens. I'm sorry. If he was in there, those were going to be 2 wins for us. And you know what that would have meant. That AFC Championship game. That game would have been at Paycor Stadium. But T. Higgins, let's re-sign that guy.
Oh, yeah. Listen, I love the pick. I mean, I can't argue with you. I'm with you. I think, and I've said it all along, I think T. Higgins is going to be one of those re-signs this offseason. I think you're going to see T. Higgins be a Bengal for the next 4 or 5 years, possibly. I think the Bengals know what he means to this football team. And don't forget, as close as Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are, Joe Burrow and T. Higgins came into this league together. And you can tell there is a serious quarterback wide receiver relationship there. And I promise you right now that one of the reasons that Joe Burrow is going to take again, when I say a hometown discount, he obviously is going to get paid. But I think part of him signing, he is definitely going to make sure that the Bengals are bringing back T. Higgins. Because I just think he feels that way about T. And you saw during the Super Bowl what T. Higgins said. He wants to be a Bengal. He wants to be in Cincinnati. And I think it happens. I really do think it happens along with Joe Burrow. I love the pick, Mom, but I got to go Joe Burrow. I mean, Monty's the best quarterback in the NFL. And, you know, he breaks his own touchdown season record this year. You know, the Bengals go 3-1 without Jamar Chase. They lost T. Higgins for some games. They lost Joe Mixon for some games. Once again, we lose half the offensive line at the end of the year, and nothing changed. Nothing changed because of one man, because of one factor. And that's what happens when you have an elite quarterback. That's what happens when you have the best quarterback in the NFL. Joe Burrow is my offensive MVP. I think, like I said, I know what you mean. It's an obvious choice, but I think we still have to give credit where credit is due. What Joe Burrow has done for this organization the last 3 years is just insane. I mean, it is truly insane. When you go back and look at everything that has changed over these really over Zach Taylor's tenure so far, everything that has changed is because of Joe Burrow. And I'm not taking anything away from anyone else. Zach Taylor, to me, Zach Taylor said the other day he wants to be a Bengal for life. I want him to be a Bengal for life. This coaching staff, Lou and Callahan and Pitcher and Walters and all these incredible coaches that we have and all these incredible players and Chase and Higgins and Kappa and DJ and, you know, Von Bell and Sam and Trey. I mean, you can name all these great players, Logan Wilson. But, Mon, the Bengals are now the Bengals they are because of one man, and that is Joe Burrow. He is just he's just special. I mean, listen.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Yeah, he was going to be my pick.
I know you do, but I just think credit has to be given where credit is due. And Joe Burrow right now, it is honestly disgusting. The MVP voting this year was absolutely a travesty. It was a clown show, to be honest with you. I'm not saying Joe Burrow should have won, although he should have. I'm saying that for him to not be in even the top 2 is disgusting, because he is that good. He is literally, to me, I don't. It's hard for me to agree with Carson Palmer, but I'm going to agree with Carson Palmer and say he is the best quarterback playing in the NFL right now.
I listen. You're not going to get a disagreement from me. I'm glad he's on our team. There's some people out there will say Mahomes. Mahomes is a fine player. They're two different players, even though they play the same position.
Yeah,
I agree with you, Joe Burrow. I just wanted to go outside the box a little bit, but Joe Burrow is he's a special player. He's an elite player, and he's the reason we are where we are as a fan base right now. And following this team, and I'm glad he's a Bengal. I'm glad he's a Bengal.
absolutely, absolutely. All right, defensive player of the year. I purposely set this up so I could go first, because I know you and I did talk about it a little bit, and DJ Reader. I mean, Mon. I love the way Jermaine Pratt played this year. I think he obviously had his best year as a Cincinnati Bengal. I think Jermaine Pratt. I really hope he is a Bengal next year. I really do, because I think he is a key component to this defense. And obviously, the way Sam had a solid year. Trey played well. Von Bell played well. But how do you not choose DJ Reader, Mon? I mean, we talked about this. Winning in the NFL is about stopping the run. And when DJ Reader was not in, the Bengals struggled stopping the run. When DJ Reader came back, they were once again one of the top defensive teams against the run. DJ Reader, to me, again, I don't even understand. And I don't really care, honestly, about the Pro Bowl voting because I think it's a joke. But for him not to be an All-Pro is just a travesty, because he is the best nose tackle in football. Is he is he the sexy name and the sexy pick? No, but he is the best nose tackle in football. And I promise you, if you polled all these offensive linemen that play against all these guys, I promise you that every single one of them would have DJ Reader as at least the top 2 defensive tackles in the NFL. To me, DJ Reader, he is just a difference maker. He's a dude. He is a dude. And to me, he's the best player on defense for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Listen, I agree. That's my selection also. DJ Reader is the glue. He's the cog. He was, his stats. If you look at his stats, they're not very sexy. No sacks. He had 3 or 4 games, only had 2 or 3 assists. But what he does, Jermaine Pratt, Logan Wilson, they couldn't get the stats they get.
Nope.
They couldn't be as effective if it wasn't for a DJ Reader. What DJ Reader did against the Titans were 7-2 at the time. Let's remember that. One of the hottest teams in football.
Yep.
Their running back did absolutely nothing against DJ Reader. And they have a good offensive line also. Let's go back to the AFC Championship game. We saw what that team did against the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Yep. They had 42 yards rushing against us on 20 carries. DJ Reader shut down Pacheco, shut all those guys down. And let's remember, some of those runs was a scramble by Mahomes.
Yep.
Now, he's the key. He missed 6-7 games this year. You saw the teams run more effectively against us. We have some quality backups, but they're not DJ Reader. The Bengals finished, I'm just pulled this up while you were talking, they finished 7th in the NFL against the run. They gave up an average of 106 yards. I guarantee you, if DJ Reader was healthy the whole year, that number 7th in the NFL would have been 1.
Yeah, I agree.
Because those 6 games that he was out, one of the teams ran for 180, 200 yards against us.
Yep.
So, it's hard to make that up, but he is dominant. I'm glad he's going to be on the team next year. He's still young. I hope they consider giving him an extension.
They will.
He is the key. If that injury of his, which it wasn't, if it was a season ender, the Cincinnati Bengals wouldn't have been in the AFC Championship game.
Oh, agree.
I feel confident saying that.
I agree.
He is one of those. Joe Burrow is a player we can't have hurt. Because that'd be catastrophic to our season. DJ Reader to me is the equivalent on defense. If he was injured, we are in trouble. That's why the Cincinnati Bengals need to start looking at potential replacements in the draft over the next couple of years. Somebody that could come in and potentially take his spot in 3 or 4 years.
DJ needs to be a Bengal for life. We need DJ a Bengal for life. I do agree with you though. I think you look at Cheeto goes down, right? Cheeto goes down, and you said it. When Cheeto went down, you and I were both like, oh my goodness, this is not going to be good. But the Bengals were able to play through it.
Yes.
DJ Reader goes down, and we're not in the AFC Championship game. I'm telling you that right now. We're not in the AFC Championship game. He is a difference maker, and I think and I know, again, like I said, he's not the sexy name. He doesn't get sacks and all that stuff. But what he does is so disruptive. He is the most disruptive nose tackle in football. So, all right, here we go. We got the Bengals Coach of the Year. Should we just count to 3 and say it at the same time? I mean, let's go. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Lou Anarumo.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, this guy, obviously, Maan. I mean, what can you say? When I remember when Zach hired him, and I remember all of us. I mean, we were all to blame for this. So don't, if you're a Bengal fan, don't try to say you were on board right away with it. But when Zach hired him, we were all like, "Who is Lou Anarumo?" You know what I mean?
I was one of them.
I was one. I mean, I think 99% of the Bengal fans were. There might have been one person out there that said, "Hey, we got Lou Anarumo." But and again, kudos to Zach Taylor, because right now Lou Anarumo is the best defensive coordinator in football, and I can't believe he did not get a head coaching job. I really can't, to be honest with you. Selfishly, I'm very happy he didn't. And maybe his age comes into factor a little bit. Everybody loves the young. Everybody loves the young coaches and all the excitement and all this other stuff. But I tell you what, right now, there ain't a better defensive coordinator than Lou Anarumo, and I think you saw that in the Super Bowl, right? I mean, the Eagles defensive coordinator got the head job over Lou Anarumo, right? Gives up almost 40 points to the Kansas City Chiefs. And in 2 games, Lou Anarumo completely shuts them down. I mean, he is just a magician. He is a magician. And I know we have solid roster defensively, but with all the injuries that have happened over the last couple of years, nothing changed. And that shows you how good he is, because nothing changes. He is so good at scheming the opponent. It's just incredible. It's just incredible.
Yeah, I mentioned after we lost the AFC Championship game, I did listen to Travis Kelce's podcast with his brother. I know. There was some praise towards our Bengals. He praised Anarumo. I mentioned it last week and the week before, how he was talking about the Bengal defense being so sound. They know where they need to be. He said it's the hardest defense that they've faced. In that championship game, we held them to 23 points, which was 6-7 points less than they were averaging. Let's face it, our offense did not play a good game that game, but our defense was keeping us in it. Yeah, we gave up some points. It's hard to, Kansas City's elite, but we held them in check. And listen, he's a great player. He's a great coach. I'm so glad things worked out. He was a 4th or 5th option, if I'm not mistaken. It was Jack Del Rio was.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah,
Was it
Jack Del Rio, Dom Capers?
the Gators defensive
Todd
coordinator.
Grantham.
Yeah, Grantham.
Todd Grantham. They contacted defensive coordinator for the Ohio State Buckeyes. And then I guess Anarumo was on the Miami staff with Zach Taylor. And he was the defensive back coach for the Giants. And I'm glad, hey, you know what? I'm glad it worked out it worked out really good for us because Grantham was fired. And the other guys, I don't know what they're doing. So I'm glad he's on the team. Listen, he's a great coach. He's going to be a head coach. I'm glad that we get him for one more year. There's nothing else you can say. I mean, everybody loves playing for him. Jermaine Pratt, let's face it, he improved dramatically under Lou Anarumo. Jesse Bates improved dramatically underneath him. So, I'm not, you were talking about hometown discounts. Maybe one of those guys can give us a little bit of a discount and decide to come back. They're going to play on a team that they know is a Super Bowl contender. They're playing for a coach that made them better players. Hey, Cincinnati gives them a nice little contract. Yeah, maybe they could get a little bit more on another team, but they're not going to have the roster we have, and they're not going to have Lou Anarumo. Let's see. We'll find out in a few weeks.
You heard it, listeners. Maan is saying Lou Dini. It's the Lou Dini effect, right? The Lou Dini effect, just like the Joe Burrow effect. I think you're right. I mean, honestly, I don't think you're exaggerating that at all. I think very well a guy like Von Bell, who really has had his career resurrected, a guy like Cheeto, guys like that. Really, Lou has it. He's resurrected their careers. Jermaine Pratt. I mean, again, you look at how good Jermaine Pratt has progressed over the last 2 years. I wouldn't be surprised if those guys, that factors in the comfortability, knowing the system, playing for a guy who they absolutely love. I don't know. I don't think you're too far off there. Before we get out of here, Mom, we were going to go through and do a roster breakdown. Let's wait for next week to do that. So next week on the show, we'll do a roster breakdown right before we get into free agency. But before we go, I want to know, Mon, just again, before free agency, before the draft, Mon, give me your 3 biggest needs for our Cincinnati Bengals this offseason.
3 biggest needs. Yeah, I feel like we've talked about this so much in text messages. Maybe we mentioned it on past shows too.
Yeah, maybe, possibly.
We probably have. We text all the time and rebuild the Bengals roster. It's unbelievable. Offensive tackle.
We're pretty good at it. I think we're pretty good.
We are. If we had a $600 million salary cap, it's going to be offensive tackle. Let's face it. Jonah Williams, 4-year sample size. He's been okay. I'll be generous. He's been okay. He's guaranteed his contract next year. A 5th-year option was picked up. He'll be with us. I think, we know what Jonah Williams is. He's an okay tackle. I think we could be better there, but he will be our starter. Jackson Carman came in, played well the last couple games, but that sample size is so small. We really don't know what Jackson Carman is. I think he's a tackle now. He's not going to be a guard. I can tell you that. He's going to come in. Hopefully he can develop. He's still very young. Right tackle is the biggest concern. That could be our Achilles heel. That could be a critical roster flaw. That could be something that sets us back and keeps us out of a potential Super Bowl. We have to get right tackle fixed. Lael Collins played well, that he was doing so much better towards the end of the season. He's coming off an ACL injury. He has chronic back problems. We just cannot go into next year expecting Lael Collins to be what we expect him to be. It's just not going to happen. We can't sit there and say it is. We have got to go out and draft in the first 2 rounds an offensive tackle, right tackle preferably, and we have to get a stopgap, somebody that has a lot of quality NFL snaps that can come in and play right tackle for us. I'm sorry, Hakeem Adeniji, he has flashed on occasion. He's a backup tackle. We cannot have him as a starter. I'm sorry. We've seen enough of that. He seems like a nice fella. Maybe he can come in and give us a couple games here and there, but we need to do a little better at right tackle. That's a key. Number 2, cornerback. Starters are great. Hilton, Cam Taylor-Britt, Cheeto's coming back. We don't know yet about Eli Apple. We have got to get another corner in the first, second, or third round. If you look at our roster, I named those three. All Hilton and Cheeto were free agent additions. Von Bell playing safety was a free agent addition. We don't have a lot of drafted players back there right now. We really don't. Yeah. Cam Taylor-Britt was obviously a draft pick, but Alan George, undrafted free agent.
Right.
Yeah, we have a couple other guys back there that are undrafted free agents. We have got to get guys first, second, or third round. They're going to come in and compete, hopefully develop into Cam Taylor-Britt's. I don't be surprised if they pick up maybe a second or third tier free agent veteran that maybe come in and play cornerback.
Have you seen the Jalen Ramsey to Cincinnati? Have you seen that?
No, that'll never happen. I did. I think that's a lot of clickbait stuff, but I don't think it's going to happen either. And
I don't
the
think so.
other one,
I will say this though, there is a connection, right? There is a connection with Zach Taylor, right?
But I think sort of. I just don't think
I agree with you though. I agree with you though. I don't think it's going to happen either. Go ahead. What was your third one?
I'm torn on the third one. I was torn between tight end, but I'm going to go defensive end. We have great starters in Hendrickson and Hubbard. Osai is going to be a great player. You can never have enough pass rushers. You saw, listen, a lot of our sacks this year, they were coverage sacks. It takes our defensive ends a little bit of time to get home. A lot of that has to do with the interior pass rush. We mentioned Larry O not playing. You know how the defensive tackles last year had 14 sacks in 2021. This year, the defensive tackles dropped down to 5 sacks. So when I say a pass rusher, it doesn't have to be a defensive end. I want a penetrator, somebody that could give us more consistent pass rush, preferably up the middle. I think that's going to take our defense to another level. Tight end was right behind that. I know you said 3, but I have tight end at 3 or 4, right around there. But that's my big ones. That's something to look for in free agency and in the draft.
So I'll do mine really quick. I mean, obviously, right tackle is my number one. I've said it for the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever long it's been. Bengals have got to draft a right tackle. They got to draft a guy that they can groom. I'm talking about a real right tackle. You're right. We cannot go into the season counting on Jonah Williams staying healthy, counting on Lel Collins staying healthy. We just can't do that anymore. We're at the point now where there's definitely a window with this coaching staff as well, right? This is the time that the Bengals have got to go out and make a move and bring in a consistent tackle. Even if it's the left tackle position, you know, Joe Burrow's blind side. We have got to get a tackle. I like the interior of the offensive line, but both tackle positions to me are they're very sketchy. My next one was defensive back. You were specific in corner, but Maan, what about our safety position right now? Right now, your 2 starting safeties are free agents, right? After that, we have Tyson Anderson, who did not play very much at all. And that's it. And that's it. I mean,
Dax Hill.
Well, but do you see Dax Hill playing safety? I just don't know if I see that yet. I don't know if I see. Go ahead.
No, I think Dax Hill is going to be Jesse Bates next year. I know they had him jumping around. They had him practicing at cornerback because they're worried about depth. They had him playing slot. Also. Dax Hill was a safety in college. I think he's going to be our free safety.
Well, we'll see. But even then, Maan, you feel good. Let's say they bring Von Bell back and they got Dax Hill. You feel good about that? I mean, be honest. Do you feel good with going with those 2 guys and not bringing in an additional safety somewhere? I'm not sure Dax Hill is ready. I love Dax Hill. I think he's going to be a great player. I was huge on that pick. That was my pick in the first round. So I'm going to stick by Dax. But I don't know if he's ready to step in and fill Jesse Bates' shoes. I just don't know if he's ready for that. I see the Bengals very possibly going out and getting a second-tier safety to replace Jesse Bates. I really do see that.
I think they'll get a second-tier safety if they don't get Von Bell re-signed. Von Bell will be a Bengal. I think he's going to sign another 2-year extension.
Listen, Von Bell's going to be a Bengal.
Yeah, I think with Von Bell back there, the Bengals drafted Dax Hill. They knew things weren't going good with Jesse Bates as the as the replacement. Now, saying that, we don't know what Dax Hill is yet because he didn't play a lot last year. I agree with that. I agree with what you said. But Dax Hill, I think the Bengals are going to throw him back there. And
I don't know.
He's going to have some growing pains, but he's an elite
see.
athlete. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes.
And I'm going to throw another position out there. I mean, I agree with we need another pass rusher. I'm not so sure, though, it doesn't need to be an interior guy that can rush the passer. I love BJ. I love DJ. Those are my two dudes. But on passing downs, I'm not sure we don't need to worry about a interior pass rusher before we start looking to replace an edge guy. I love Joseph Asai. I love Trey. I love Sam. I don't know if we don't need to start looking at – we thought maybe Zach Carter was going to be the guy, and maybe he still is going to be the guy, but we got to find an interior pass rusher on third downs. Look at what Chris Jones – look at how he took over the football game from the interior. I mean, he's a guy that can bounce outside too. I guess what I'm saying is let's find our Chris Jones. Let's find our Chris Jones. I'll be happy with that. But this is another position real quick, and then we're going to get out of here. If Jermaine Pratt does not come back, Maan, the Bengals have got to get a linebacker. Akeem Davis-Gaither, I love him. I think he's a great third down linebacker. But if Jermaine Pratt does not come back, the linebackers we have on this roster are not ready to step in next to Logan Wilson and play that big of a position. To me, if Jermaine Pratt doesn't come back, linebacker has got to be one of the top priorities in the offseason.
Pratt played himself into a big contract. I hope he remains in Cincinnati. Is there a drop off behind him? Absolutely, there is. Yes. But I think Akeem Davis-Gathers is good. I don't know if you're really big on him. Marcus Bailey, good athlete.
He's a great special teams guy.
Marcus Bailey hasn't really been given a shot to play linebacker, so we don't really know. But Jay, come on, you don't know what Marcus Bailey is a linebacker because he hasn't had a chance to play linebacker. He hasn't had a chance.
Maan, listen.
Who's he going to replace?
What do you mean? Who's he going to replace?
Well, he hasn't had a chance to play because he's not going to beat out Pratt.
That's what you want to go. That's what you want to go into the regular season with Marcus Bailey. Maan, is that what you're telling me?
I'm telling you right now, Marcus Bailey has a lot of potential, and I have faith.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm talking about you have a team that has gone to the AFC Championship 2 years in a row. You lose one of your best defensive players, and you're telling me that if the Bengals go into it saying Marcus Bailey is our other starter, you're good with that?
I would rather have Jermaine Pratt. I'll tell you that right now.
I know you would. Of course,
but Marcus Bailey, the few times he played when Joe Bocci came in, remember 2 years ago when Logan Wilson had the injury with the shoulder, Bailey and Bocci played really well. It wasn't Logan Wilson but they played really good. There is a drop. I'm not trying to say they're Jermaine Pratt. I think we could survive a Jermaine Pratt leaving with some of the players we have. Do I want them to draft a player in the draft? I do, but I don't want them to use one in the first, second, or third round. They could get one in the fourth.
Listen, if we lose Jermaine Pratt, can we survive? Yes, we can. If we go out and get somebody that can at least is a guy that's taken snaps, that understands. If we lose Jermaine Pratt and our backup plan is Marcus Bailey and those guys, no, Maan. No.
Well, the backup is it's Gaither. He's going to be the guy that stepped in.
But again, you're talking about you're looking at that position, and Akeem Davis-Gaither. Don't get me wrong. I love his athleticism. He's a long guy. He's very good, especially on down and distances, long down and distances. But if you're talking about an every down linebacker, Akeem Davis-Gaither is not an every down linebacker. He's just not. I love the guy. And I love Marcus Bailey. I want to make sure that's very clear. But if Jermaine Pratt leaves, you have got to go get a guy to fill that role. You've got to go get it because it is not on the roster.
Look, Jermaine Pratt and Logan Wilson were the starters. But for a majority of our third downs, Logan Wilson stayed on the field, and Jermaine Pratt's the one that got off the field. So just remember that.
I know.
But
I know.
Yes, I do agree with you. Losing Pratt would hurt us, and trust me, we mentioned it earlier. I hope he looks at Lou Anarumo. I hope Lou calls him, come back,
Yeah,
because we need Pratt. Listen, I had DJ Reader as a player of the year on defense. Pratt was my second.
Mine too.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't want our second best player on defense to leave. Yeah. We agree. Trust me, we agree. We just it's going to be an interesting 3 weeks because it's going to say a lot about our organization, about our ownership group. It's going to say a lot to see what happens over the next 3 to 4 weeks. So we'll see.
Well, the first piece is the Joe Burrow piece, right? And I really think once that piece falls into place, I think the Bengals will quickly move on to bringing back Von Bell. I think they're going to try to bring back Jermaine Pratt, and I think they're going to re-sign T. Higgins. I think those 3 guys are the next tier priority after Joe Burrow. And you're right. You're going to see when Joe Burrow signs what kind of deal he signs. Too, you're going to see how Joe Burrow feels about it all. Because if it's a hometown discount, I can tell you right now, the next piece is going to be T. Higgins signing very soon after that. If you see Joe Burrow taking a hometown discount, it's going to be to keep T. Higgins. All right, Bengals Pulse fans, that's another edition of the Bengals Pulse. If you like this podcast, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Make sure you check us out on all of the podcast platforms, Apple, Stitcher, and Spotify. As always, if you liked it, please give us that 5-star review. Maan and I would very much appreciate that. And as always, make sure you follow us on Twitter at Bengals_Pulse9, on Instagram, the same without the at, Bengals_Pulse9. And as always, check out all the awesome podcasts right here on the Wincinnati Podcast Network. Once again, this is the Bengals Pulse. He is Maan. I am Jake. Hoo day, Bengal fans. We will talk to you next week.
Thanks, everybody. See ya.